Hey everyone, welcome back to something a little bit different, probably very different to my normal builds. I thought this would be just a little sort of side opportunity to, I guess, show a build in progress, which is definitely something I don't normally do. You'll also have to forgive the occasional cars and sounds. It's late summer here in Sydney, so there's plenty of birds, and it's, I think, still 30 odd degrees at whatever time. I think we're 7 o'clock-ish. So yes, it's definitely hot. I'm a bit sweaty, and I've been working on an F86. So like I said, I thought this would be probably just a good little recap on where things are at. Very, very rough video, so don't nag me about that. And I'll give a little bit of an update on my workbench as well, because this is one of these things that has definitely evolved over time. My paint stand, very happy with. Used workspace. At the time, I just had that foam board stuff, and this is, I think you'll see it in other videos, it's foam but card backed. So it's actually 2 years old now, and it's held up really well. If you'll bear with me, and I'm trying not to make the camera work too crappy. If I put it on the stand, that's going to be not really that helpful. I did have a spill once of, I think it was airbrush cleaner. Even that was not too bad. I'll try and show you. Okay, so here we're actually having a bit of a look at how this thing's held up over the years. I think, what, 2.5 years old now. Like I said, there was a spill here. Yeah, it's a bit of damage, but not too bad actually. I've always been reluctant to give any great detail on how I build it, but basically you can go to a hardware store and do it. I use kitchen towel. You'll notice in my builds that as my builds progress, they get worse and worse. I've got a F86 Sabre here on the bench, so I can show you where that's at the moment. To be honest, this is pretty nice kit. This is the North American F86F. I think it was the, and I can show you up in my mess here which one it is exactly. So there you are, Arctic Gladiators. That's what's coming up next. But this is probably giving you a good example of what really happens in my little corner. Some things I've definitely adjusted. I upgraded the light, which is very ghetto. This was one of those ring lights, and at the time I got fed up. Basically glue gunned it in there, and it looks horrible, but it's worked really well, really well. There's a pile of junk up here. Normally it's not that messy, but like I said, I thought it's kind of good to see a reel behind the scenes. This one's probably useful for people. What this is, it annoys the crap out of me with Airfix kits because you get a number. So over time you can see here, just added that. It makes it just one less headache to worry about. The actual tools I use haven't changed too much. Probably one of the best things that I've come across, I shouldn't say come across, like discovered ball bearings, right? But what it is, if you want to improve your painting, buy some ball bearings. It just makes life so much easier. You'll get much better paint consistency. So any that I don't have ball bearing in, I'll definitely put it in. The paint rack, you can see here, this is really something that I did add an extra shelf. There's a video on it somewhere going into all the detail of how I did that. Pretty simple, pretty cheap. I think it was say $50–60. One thing I also have started using more of these Vallejo Game Color. I do like them, and I'll swing back to something in a second. And I've taken to aerosol for just some basic stuff, so primer and silver. I use it a lot actually. It's just saves messing around with the airbrush. My airbrush, still same one, cost me a lot at the time, but yeah, I've never had any reason to complain at all. So big mess here. When I'm out and about the other week, like I was in the city, so I saw these, haven't even opened them yet, but I do like these mix packs. And this one goes down to what, 10,000 grit, so really useful. Can never have enough drill bits and tape. So sometimes, you know, if I'm just wandering around and I see something, I'll keep things topped up. One interesting thing, I have been trying to work on my pilots and figures in general. What I'm doing here, which looks crazy, is trying to get the wet paint to use gravity to get his helmet all nice and shaped properly. So yeah, that's definitely something that you'll see in the next video. Spare bits and pieces everywhere. I probably shouldn't show you up there too much, but gives you the idea. Like I said, I use on the filter, this is just that kitchen paper stuff. I use that for, what would I say, pre-filtering, and I change that with every build. The actual carbon filter is an aquarium one which goes behind there, and yeah, I change that maybe every couple months. It just depends how heavy it is. It's small things, you don't use a lot of paint. It'll last longer. If I start doing bigger stuff, definitely you'll get a lot more. Tools, nothing really new in the tools front. Oh, one thing I would say, yeah, I should have listened to everyone a long time ago. Yeah, accelerator can make life a lot easier. Wish I had discovered this one years ago. It was one of those things I've seen around over the years, but I was like, why would I need that? Now I've actually started using it. Yeah, I couldn't imagine not having it. So that gives you kind of where I'm at. Like I say, there's nothing really new, but it's nice to have a bit of a look at what's happening. And like I say, in this case, you're getting very much a bigger behind the scenes picture of my little corner. This is what helps keep me sane with work and all the other, what would I say, day-to-day crap that everyone has to deal with. The other thing I would say here is, especially if you're younger or beginning, yeah, don't get hung up on this. This is like, I think, what, 6-7 years of just buy a bit of paint here, or like I said, if I'm out and about and I'll buy a bit of extra tape and so on. So it's not like you need all of this to get started. This is just what accumulates. I'd actually say most 90% of it I use 10% of the time, and 10% of it I use 90% of the time. As a really quick example, a go-to file. This is one of the very first ones I bought. I think it was just one of the $10 trumpeter sets, £5 or whatever they are in UK, USA. Yeah, so don't get too hung up. Some of my old brushes, I'm such a tight ass that I still use them, even though they should have been binned a long time ago. This one I do get asked about. Since it's on the bench, I'll just give it a quick mention with my wobbly camera. This is the water-based latex. This is really good because I can dilute it. I think in the last video I go into a bit of detail. One of the recent ones, I can dilute it and then thin it down to help basically get better flow, because if you try and use that stuff thick, you're going to get into a big mess. I do also, one of the things I've progressed to in the last few years is razor blades. I'm cautious of showing too much of them on camera for the obvious reasons with all the crazies and whatever else out there, but especially when you get to canopies or any fine work, yeah, almost essential really. If you're struggling getting that side of things right, yeah, just maybe have a look at that. One of the things that I have learnt not to do, I've got a bunch of junk down here and you can see that, but don't put your rubbish bin at your feet, your trash can, whatever you want to call it, because it is surprising how much, once something goes in here, it is really a nightmare getting it out again. At the moment, I just emptied this the other day, so it's not too bad. Oh, the other thing here, you'll see here, I've got I don't know if I've shown these in another video. These were pretty standard, just from, you'd pick them up at a hardware store, and completely random. But since I've opened this up, some of the UV stuff which I learnt from fly fishing, and also actually the razor blades are from fly fishing. It's surprising there's a crossover in that. The UV stuff is really good for doing like clear instrument panels and so on. This is all pretty self-explanatory. Still a bit of a mess, but I tend to be messy, so it helps me stay a bit organized. Ton of pipettes there as well. So that's under the bench. I did have a problem with my airbrush the other week, so I need to get a new regulator. What else? Definitely, if there's any questions, anything that I haven't explained well, or sometimes you just, whatever, just let me know in the comments, and we can have a chat. There's always stuff I'm learning, that's for sure. I definitely don't see myself as big expert. Oh, and one other thing before I leave you to it, I do have a lot more 1/32 stuff coming. To be honest, that I actually enjoy the large scale much better, or much more. Wow, my English is getting worse and worse. And that's what I prefer doing. So I've got a lot of 1/32, which I've put off for, what would I say, various reasons is probably a nice way to put it. So I've done that, but do expect a lot more 1/32 stuff to be coming. That's what I enjoy. The problem is, it's obviously not saying you just churn out in a week or two, but I've got Zuccomaru, a lot of Tamiya. I've got probably 5 or 6 in the stash of the Tamiya 1/32. I've even got the F16, which weirdly I picked up overseas. Okay, so there you go. This is my mess. I'm not going to show my stash. I don't like doing that type of stuff at all. I think that's a bit of a wank, to be honest. But I have got, like I said, a bunch of 1/32 stuff that I really do want to start moving towards. And I think people are not really that interested in, what I say, the $10 stuff. And that's the cat waking up, so that's probably time for me to go. Before I do though, I can show you. Okay, I'll leave it there. Things are getting a bit noisy. I think that's everyone coming home from work, trains come in. So there's a bunch of cars, the cat's woken up. Definitely hit me up in the comments. I like to hear from everyone. And yeah, we'll see. The storm comes later. Sydney, where are we? Coming towards the end of summer, like I said, pretty hot, sticky at the moment. And my crazy modeling corner. If you do have any questions, let me know. Hope you've enjoyed that. Hope you enjoy the videos. Definitely, if there's any issues with the videos, let me know, because I really don't know. I mean, I make them anyway. It's kind of nice for me. Gives me, what I'd say, a bit of a record as well of my builds. Whoops, yeah. So forgive the crappy camera work, forgive all of that. See you in the next one. Thanks again. And thank you for watching.